Posted by you/Vic_Titius. My sister, 34F, and her husband, 36M, got married just 3 months ago. I, 30F, was appointed maid of honor. I was so excited to help her plan the wedding and took on most of the work since I was unemployed at the time and she's a doctor. I won't get into the details, but it's important to note that she didn't have a wedding planner, it was all me. The time leading up to the wedding, I was miserable because of how the bride treated me. I felt like her own personal slave, someone she could kick around because she's the bride. Just because you're a bride doesn't mean you get a free pass to be a BTCH. Many times I wanted to step out of the wedding party, but I kept telling myself to bite my tongue and keep the peace because she was probably just stressed. After doing so much for her, she refused to invite my fiancé, even though we've been together for 12 years, but invited my siblings' partners who have only been around for 2 to 3 years. My sister and her husband dated for a year before they got engaged, so we don't really know him too well. She said she didn't want my fiancé around because people would be asking about my own wedding since they've all been wanting us to get married for a while. I refused to do any more work for her wedding until she apologized to me and invited my fiancé, which she did. Not exactly sincerely, but whatever. I was hurt that she wasn't even grateful for anything I had done for her and her dream wedding because it was expected of me to help. Cut to the day of the wedding, and everything was fine. The ceremony was beautiful, and the couple was happy. I was happy for my sister. By the time we got to the reception venue, I noticed that my fiancé and I were seated at a separate table from my family. They were at the VIP table, while I was cast aside to sit at the furthest table, right beside the kitchen. I figured there was a mistake and calmly asked the bride about it, since she handled the seating plan. She looked me dead in the eye and said there was no mistake, that's where we belong, at the kids' table, far away. We were seated with 7 to 14-year-olds. The groom overheard us and agreed with me but kept quiet when my sister gave him the "don't you dare disagree with me" look. The groom later apologized to my parents for what happened to me and said he had no clue his bride did that. But he didn't say a word to me, as his bride told him not to. Because of this, I decided not to make an issue and just tried to enjoy the remainder of the night with my partner, but I chose not to give a maid of honor speech. My parents noticed where I was seated and were upset about the situation as well. My siblings knew very well that I wasn't at their table but didn't bother looking for me or wondering why I wasn't seated there. When they heard I wasn't making a speech, my 2 brothers walked over to my table to tell me off, saying I needed to understand my sister and the stress of being a bride, that I should be nice to her because it's her special day and you're only a bride once. Yeah, right, I bet they'll divorce. They called me a disgrace and a disgusting disappointment for not giving a speech for my sister, saying I would make her sad and that I was being selfish for making the night about me, when I was literally sitting quietly in our corner. Needless to say, I wasn't having the best time, so we got up and left. We ended up at McDonald's for dinner, and I posted a story of us getting burgers, saying post-wedding meal. I made sure to post it after the reception ended to avoid making it look like I had ditched, but my siblings somehow saw this as an attack on my sister. To this day, my sister insists she did nothing wrong, and her reasons for seating me there were, 1. I didn't plan her wedding exactly as she envisioned during the process, so I deserved to sit there, even though I did everything she said she wanted. 2. She didn't like that I looked pretty in my gown. And 3. I needed to be punished for insisting on bringing my fiancé. I haven't planned my own wedding yet because I wanted to be 100% focused on hers, plus, she banned me from getting married before her since she's older, and to avoid drama, I agreed. But now, I just don't want anyone there except my parents and a few close friends. My parents agree with me, but my siblings are upset, calling me childish. To be completely honest, I just don't feel like paying for people who don't appreciate it. Mine is a destination wedding, and my fiancé and I are paying for everything. These are our savings, and I don't feel like splurging on them. My grandparents, cousins, and siblings are all saying I'm wrong. But hey, if I was excluded from being a sibling at my sister's wedding and no one cared, why would they be upset if I excluded them in return? Commenter. Wedding planning issues aside, one possible explanation for all of this could be that your sister really dislikes your fiancé. Op's response. Regarding my fiancé, there's nothing he did to her to warrant being treated so rudely. We started dating when we were quite young, and both my parents and I love him very much. He was my best friend for a long time and is still my favorite person to this day. My sister has always hated that I had a boyfriend before she did because she believed I wouldn't ever get married due to my disability. I am epileptic. Her husband was her first boyfriend, and she married him right away because she wants babies ASAP, since she's already 34 and her goal was to be married before 30. In fact, she started planning and booking vendors even before he actually proposed to her. So basically, she's pretty insane. Her actions are always driven by jealousy and the idea that I shouldn't have things if she hasn't had them first because she's the eldest, whether it's a boyfriend, engagement, wedding, kids, etc. That's why she said I couldn't get married before her, because it was already a slap in her face that I got engaged younger than her. Basically, she doesn't hate him, she hates me. Update 1 month later. Hi again, I'll address a few things before giving a quick update. I come from a family of 5 kids. I didn't mention this before because I didn't think it was that relevant, but I actually have 2 sisters, 34 and 32, and 2 brothers, 26 and 22. A little more about my sisters: they're the best of friends, the picture-perfect model of sisterly love. Meanwhile, I'm the middle child with 2 younger brothers. So why did I agree to be maid of honor? Well, because I thought it would bring us closer. In my mind, I believed this was her trying to be more of a sister to me. You always hear stories about that sisterly bond around weddings, and I tried to nurture that because it's what they already had. My brothers also share that sibling bond with each other. Any chance I had to connect with my sisters, I jumped at the opportunity. It's more about me feeling left out than being a doormat. I was a very sickly child, so I spent most of my time with just my parents growing up, while my siblings were out meeting friends, etc. This is what my siblings apparently envied. They aren't close to my parents. The bride had both of us as maid of honors because she couldn't choose just one. I later found out I was always the second option and was only appointed maid of honor, so I do all the work while the other maid of honor got all the praise. In hindsight, I should have seen that coming. While my brothers were busy harassing me about giving my maid of honor speech, Sister 2 was giving her own maid of honor speech, gushing about how she absolutely loves the bride and will do anything for her, all that typical stuff. She then conveniently called all the siblings to the stage to toast the bride and groom, right when I was crying and trying to walk away from my brothers. So to the other relatives in attendance, it looked like I was making a scene and making it about me. No, it's not the first time she hurt me. She fat-shamed me as a child, calling me a potato, said I was a burden to the family because of my epilepsy, threw all my makeup in the sink and ruined it because I moved her bath towel in the bathroom, and called me the stupid low IQ sister, even though I'm a licensed architect with a master's degree, when her guy friends wanted to ask for my number. She even took my dream church from me, which is why my fiancé suggested we have a destination wedding in my dream country instead. This was just the worst thing she's done to spite me in front of the entire family. And no, we still haven't spoken since then. She still maintains that I was the one who ruined everything by getting upset about the seating. Now for the update. We've decided to elope. It will just be the 2 of us and a handful of close friends who have been there for us since the beginning of our relationship. We'll have a small church wedding and a little celebration on the beach with the people we love, followed by island hopping with our entire party around the Philippines. All paid for by us, because I want to splurge on memories and experiences with people who truly love and appreciate us. The budget we had set aside for a wedding in Italy will now be used for an intimate 5-day wedding celebration on an island in the Philippines. We will have our reception with the family when we get back home. The plan is to invite both of our big families to a luncheon the weekend after. Collectively, this would mean about 80 guests max. Both our parents wanted to help pay for the engagement party and rehearsal dinner, and they agreed to cover the cost of this luncheon/reception instead. This means they can invite whomever they please, and if my siblings are invited, I couldn't care less. I'll be too busy with my husband of 1 to 2 weeks by then. At this event, we'll still have special moments like the father-daughter dance and cake cutting. We're planning to have piñatas, a brick oven pizza cart, coffee and pretzels, and an amazing Italian buffet with a pasta bar, lots of fresh fruit and cheese, because who doesn't like cheese? As for the seating plan, ever watched Mamma Mia 1? Yep, think of that, a long, winding table where my siblings can be as far away from me as possible, and as close to the service area as possible, without it being obvious. They'll have their own siblings table. My fiancé and I will be in the center, with his 2 brothers and our parents next to us, while my wonderful siblings will be at the end of the table, near the restrooms, where they belong. I honestly don't care if they're invited to this lunch because I've got nothing left for them, not even anger. I'm just so done with them that I'd feel more for a stranger on the street than I do for these people. It's indifference. They've hurt me so many times that I'm numb to their existence. And no bridezilla allowed. My sister expects to be my maid of honor in return, but that's definitely not going to happen since my siblings won't be present at the ceremony. I don't need her around, and I don't want her around. Yes, she'll likely be invited to the reception out of courtesy, but I'll make sure she's set aside just like I was. How, you might ask? Well, we recently found out she's pregnant, and I'm planning my wedding around her due date. Luckily, she's due around June, which is the month we really wanted anyway. So, if she decides to attend with a newborn and her husband, she'll be at the kiddie table and told to step out when the baby starts to cry. In the end, our wedding day is for us. Eloping is the only way I feel like we can truly sit and enjoy our special day together, away from all my siblings and family issues. Then, when we get back, we'll have a get-together lunch with some good food and fun. That's really all it is to me, a lunch. Luckily, my fiancé's family isn't as insane as mine. So there you have it. Thank you all for your messages, comments, and insights. I really was going a bit loco back then, thinking I was overreacting, but thank you so much for the clarity. Cheers to the end of this emotionally draining year. Second update 9 months later. I know a number of you have been waiting, and I swear this is the soonest I could post. I promise I'll explain. I'll start with the wedding. I absolutely enjoyed wedding planning with my husband, yay. If you ever decide to get married, do a small wedding, you'll live longer, I swear. We told our friends and families that we were pushing back the wedding and wanted to do a destination bachelor/bachelorette trip first. They had no idea we were actually getting married on this trip. We arrived in Boracay 3 days before everyone else for some time to ourselves. When our friends arrived, we did all the fun island activities. The night before our wedding, we asked everyone to be up at 7 for breakfast and to dress up in tropical beach outfits for cute pics. We had told them to pack this beforehand. Once everyone was gathered, my husband announced that we were getting married at 4 p.m. and that this was actually an elopement. The excitement from all our friends will forever be a core memory. It's the best feeling to have people genuinely happy for you. The girls did each other's hair and makeup, cried, and hugged a lot, while the boys had fun drinking and playing football. We used our phones and an old digital camera, passing it around, and that was it for our event photos. Surprises have been our thing since we began dating, and it was so sweet that we both thought to do the same for our wedding. I love flowers, but I didn't want to go through the hassle of finding a supplier there. We had someone help with the necessary arrangements, but that was it. I figured I'd just get flowers for the luncheon later. Well, my husband had other plans. He secretly spoke to the hotel to surprise me, knowing exactly which flowers I love. He created the prettiest bouquet ever and had the church filled with them. I completely ruined my makeup from ugly crying when I walked in. For my husband, who is extremely close to his brothers, I made sure to fly them out as a surprise. He needed his best men there, and I was thrilled to make that happen. We said our I-dos and headed to the hotel for a boodle fight dinner by the beach. Nothing fancy, but we were beyond happy. Now for the luncheon. Before the elopement, I sent my seating plan to our family group chat because I didn't want anyone making a scene on the day. Everyone thought these were the seating plans for our reception. Well, here's where my pettiness shows. Our head table consisted of us, our parents, and my husband's brothers. All my siblings were seated at both ends of the long table. My favorite slap in the face, though, was a table for one way in the back, labeled as the breastfeeding area with my sister's name on the chair. She was livid, to say the least. I simply said I was looking out for her, assuming she'd want some privacy. My siblings refused to come because they saw my elopement as an act of disrespect, especially since my brothers-in-law were there. They even called our relatives, telling them not to attend. Some relatives were upset, saying they did not agree with our union. I'm happy to report that, out of the original 127 guests, only 58 ended up coming. So, I cut my budget by over half. Sounds like a win to me. The venue was my husband's small family farm, which was so beautiful that I didn't need to spend much on decor at all. Music was just a Spotify playlist we made. Photos, prenup, beach, and lunch were all taken by my friends. The cake was baked by my mom and me 2 nights before, and the flowers I bought myself from the morning market and arranged with my girls. And the dress I wore? Just one I had in my closet. For food, we asked guests to bring potluck meals instead of gifts if they wanted to. We still had our pizza oven, pretzel cart, and coffee bar, which we paid for instead of a caterer. E-invites were designed by us and sent via email. Since my siblings didn't want to attend, only Bridezilla's husband got an invite, with no option for A+1. Her C-section was scheduled for a week before my wedding. Did she notice I planned for her to miss the luncheon? Yes she did. It was magical. Us being so unaffected upset them even more. But I've come to realize that the louder you try to force people to side with your opinions and narrative, the more toxic, unhinged, and narcissistic you appear. No, I didn't need to go no contact with them. They all decided to go no contact with me. I didn't even need to try. Blessings left and right. For those blaming my parents, none of my siblings were neglected. If anything, my parents gave my siblings so much more time and freedom to compensate for all the attention I needed. And let's not forget, these kids are grown adults. My parents are seniors, they're tired. They did tell my siblings off for being gigantic pricks, but what else can they do at this point? Put them in timeout? Since both our parents wanted to pitch in, they helped us with a down payment on the house instead. In return, we surprised them with a 1-week vacation each to Amampulo. We saved so much from our wedding and luncheon that we just wanted to show how much we appreciate their support and love. Lastly, any extra food and flowers were either taken home by guests or donated, which made everything feel even more special. Weddings are about love. Our favorite people were there to celebrate us, and we made sure to also celebrate the love we have for them. I fully embrace this life of peace, contentment, and indifference toward my siblings. No idea what they're up to, sorry. They kicked me out of the group chat, and I only found out my sister gave birth because my brother-in-law messaged me. The last I heard, they were still trying to badmouth my husband, but we couldn't care less. We've moved on. Sucks for them that they haven't. Thank you all for following along. It was empowering to know I wasn't alone, and enlightening to hear that this type of sibling abuse isn't actually normal. This is your kitty table maid of honor, finally signing off.